it's definitely, it's definitely what we suspected years ago and have been saying all along and announcing it sort of every step of the way, that it's this interesting synthesis process where it's like we want to get away with as much, not you and I, but system wants to get away with as much bullshit as possible, while well aware that they can't get away with quite as much as they were able to get away with yesterday. So what's just the tiniest little drop of truth more that they can get away with to placate, to buy another day, week, month, year, to do whatever the fuck they're doing. In the show I recorded today, the guests that I had, we were talking about, what is it going to take to bring about a paradigm or a consciousness shift on a level that would make people, be more, not fall for all this shit all the time, over and over and over again. Right. And, this has been a long process for us, for you and I, to get to this place, right? There's things that like you and I were like totally okay with and excited about 2 years ago that now we're like, oh my God, that was like, we fell for the mind control, right? So, and one might say that we're out ahead of a lot of other people. So there's a lot catching up to do. And in the meantime, like, do we have to sit there and wait for this sort of shift in paradigm or shifting consciousness to be ubiquitous throughout everything? Or is it really just parallel system time, right? Is it time where we like stop trying to convince people, stop trying to, I don't know that you have to stop trying to wake other people up, because you can do that while creating your own thing, right? But instead of, if the people who are aware of what we're talking about, but still going, well, Robert Malone or RFK or whatever would at least be a little bit better than the fucktard prior, if they would just be like, I'm not supporting any of that anymore, and we're over here doing our own thing, and not get swept up in the voting for Trump or the supporting these slightly better whatever kind of things, right? And just be like, no, like I can speak to people who I hope will join me in a broader understanding of what's really going on. But in the meantime, the system that I'm going to support will be a different one, will be parallel, right? And so I think for some reason, even us, I mean, remember how excited we were when like Brett and all them showed up on the scene, because we thought that this was going to help to convince our like left loony friends and family and whatever that like something was really smelly at the deli. But it didn't at all. Actually, like my dad was never moved by that story, never. So it didn't accomplish that task. And it had me believing bullshit for a couple of years. So this idea that we have to leave space for people with a compelling story, like our friend Mickey said.
Yeah, no, we don't.
It's a lie.
People think that to get out of the way and stop telling us what we need to do, because that limits the amount of truth we're allowed to share, because it hurts their trajectory or their fame or their income stream. I mean, yes, of course, parallel society is looming. And I think it's like, as you and I have talked about many times throughout the years, we all have different dharma and different roles to play. There's an aspect of my soul that likes to pretend that she can save humanity. She might be delusional, but that's an aspect of me that likes to play that way here. And it's also a matter of like, it's going to be really fucking hard. Let's be really honest. If we cannot trade on the marketplace without our ESG, our marks of the beast, whatever, like it's going to suck even more than it already sucks. And we're going to watch our friends, continue to get hurt, continue to get trapped. It would be, again, I would like to think we can stop this. That might be maniacal, deluded idealism, but it would be easier, not just on you and me, but on the rest of society, to not go down this road and not trust these psychopaths.
It would be interesting to conduct the experiment of what would happen if we didn't put any energy for a period of time into stopping something, and instead used all that time and energy to create something.
Hey, superstars, thank you so much for sharing your sacred attention with me. If you are receiving any value whatsoever from my videos, I am encouraging you to give back, to pay it forward by supporting me on my Patreon community, on my locals community, on both. Your support allows me to keep on keeping on and to keep making content like this. It used to be much easier back in the days of a free press, but now, given all of the censorship and the shadow banning, it really is challenging for content creators to continue to put out so much work. I'll just speak for myself. I'm excited for it to be easier for me to continue to put out more content. And the primary way that it can be easier is by you supporting me financially by way of my Patreon and or my locals, where for as little as $5 a month, you get to be my hero and receive oodles of bonus content, and we both get to win. Okay, thank you so much for your support, for your attention, and for being omniscopic amazingness.
Energy to create something. And see, like maybe the creation of the new has been slowed down by the trying to stop the old, right?
I mean, it might be, I'm creating the whole fucking time. Like, I'm never not creating.
Right. But what I'm saying, like, you know how you and I feel, and we all, this is not like an assessment of what we have or haven't been doing. This is like, you know how you and I feel conflicted about some of this stuff that we do.
All the time,
right?
all the time.
Like, I'm about to do a series coming up a little bit with John Brisson, and you may be part of it, that I feel very conflicted about, because it does not feel to me like, it doesn't feel like the thing I'm here to do, and B, it feels like it could be a major distraction from the thing I feel like I'm here to do, right? And
how so? I'm curious how so, how it's a departure.
I have observed myself since I became aware of that podcast, that I have spent more time thinking about that than the narrative I was working on with like the buildings as musical instruments and my synchromistic thing, like through Austin and whatever. Like when my brain latched onto that, my free time thinking about like what could be, how this could all be working and what's going on, was shifted from like understanding how to open up different dimensions here in Austin to paying attention to the broad Psy-Op that has been conducted on everybody that seems to have been born of Standing Rock.
Yeah,
right?
see, I hear that, and I just want to acknowledge that. And like, you know, you're the only one who knows what you came to this planet to do, what gives you joy, and what rabbit holes you want to go down. That being said, I think you hit on something that's much bigger than that shitty podcast that woke me up to a lot of things. And I think it's important for our community and for the people who are in the truth movement to be clued in. So, I mean, I think it's a huge service that you're tracking that.
But the reason that I've decided to go ahead and do it is because this is the first time I've had the awareness of what happened to me when I started thinking about that. So to go through this process with the awareness in mind that even this is a big Psy-Op, and that even the bigness of it could be this far away from it, taking me off of what I was doing to come here and talk about this. So I'm going through it with that awareness, and I'm watching myself, and I'm paying attention to the amount of time I spend like on what I see as my thing, and the amount of time I spend responding to what I see as someone else's thing. And really observant of everything going on in me, around me during this period of time, right? So it's from that space that I decided, because I almost at one point just like sent John a text and was like, yeah, like, no, like if you want, like I'll chat with you a little bit about my thoughts on it, but you, right? But then like I thought this could actually be a really interesting exercise to go through this with the level of awareness I have about where my attention, my energy, my consciousness, and all that kind of stuff is going while I'm feeling torn this way, right?
This is really interesting to me, and I think it's probably a larger conversation, and I don't know if it's one we want to have on a YouTube live stream, but as far as like how we want this to go, right? And what we're really creating. But I'm struck by what I heard you and Shane talking about on your recent podcast that I was listening before this, which is that we give them too much credit and we give them way too much power. And so I think playing with that idea that we can thwart them, like I really, as I said, like that might be crazy, but I think that they're weak and stupid and their plans are flimsy and half-baked. And so I think that there's a lot of power and value in us busting their shit, because I think that they're small, weak, feeble-minded morons who don't really stand a chance when it comes to really coming up against the people who are aligned with light and truth and justice and love when we are standing in our full power. So I think a lot of the things that you and I are both very conflicted about fuel that possibility. So
I hear that, and I grant just as much sort of validity and thought to that, as also, yes, we give them too much credit and we think they're more powerful than they are. And the other option is to just absolutely ignore them and go skipping on down my yellow brick road, making my synchronistic story up about all this other thing and see, right, and testing that. Like, it's entirely possible that they have no power at all and they just say they do and we believe them, and it distracts us from, right? So I think both things are possible, and I give both reactions and both proactive measures the same kind of consideration. And I think in some ways that's probably what this period of time, this year, is about for me, is like really being very clear on what is deserving of my attention. Is it deserving of my attention? And if so, how much, right? And how am I going to balance that? And am I giving as much writing time to my narrative as I am to addressing theirs?